Thank you for joining us. Today we have Janay Eyo. She is Director of Financial Policy at the Chamber of Progress, a center-left tech policy trade association advocating for consumers and supporting technological leaps in our society. Janay used to work on financial services for Representative Joyce Beatty on Capitol Hill and has an extensive background in financial services as a current CPA candidate. Janay learned about crypto and Web 3.0 while working at Howard University, where she was involved in creating financial literacy programs for students. So it is instrumental that she's here today to talk about cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, banking while Black, and the importance of cryptocurrency being taught to people in our community so we don't get left behind. So let's get into it.
This is such a nascent industry, so you have to be nimble, and the federal government is not very nimble. So it's just interesting to see and see how things will play out in the next year or so when it comes to legislation and regulation. But a lot of these countries are really moving, and because they want crypto innovators in their countries. They want more people using this technology. I was on a panel recently, and we were talking about how countries are using blockchain technology to improve, their city, infrastructure. And one of the things that we talked about was South Korea and how they're, enabling this blockchain. You can have your identity on the blockchain. So you have these countries that are very interested in doing these things, and they're kind of pulling along the rest of the world. But I always talk about how the US should not lead from behind when it comes to this. They should be in the front too. And so I know that they've definitely talked about this at World Economic Forum and the United Nations, the General Assembly. They just had a blockchain council up there. So I know that the US is definitely taking notes and watching, and the individual states are taking note as well.
Absolutely. So we talked about Germany and Switzerland in terms of no taxes on crypto. Do you have any insight on where you think taxes, because I know that's going to be a big thing for people. There's a lot of people that are holding the crypto, that are holding on to crypto. They've been holding on to it for years. They've never sold it. Where do you think that's going to go in terms of the regulations on taxes for crypto?
So I think the US, the IRS is always going to try to get their due. And one of the ways that the government can make money off of cryptocurrency right now is by regulating the on-ramp and regulating the off-ramp. With the off-ramp, that's when you cash out your crypto. But I have seen a lot of, DeFi platforms. You see in a lot of companies that have sprouted up where you don't even really need to off-ramp your crypto at all anymore. There's a company called Spritz Finance. They've been doing some beta testing, but I think they're going to roll out officially soon, where you can pay your bills using crypto. You don't even have to transfer money into, from your wallet to your bank. You can just pay your bills, using your wallet, and they do all of the work on the back end to connect, your crypto to, your bills. And I was part of the beta testing. I thought it was innovative because
what's the name of the company again?
Spritz Finance, SPRITZ. Okay. So you have companies like that are coming up. You have people that are buying houses on the blockchain. There was an NFT house that sold in North Carolina where you can buy that. Yeah, so people are kind of like creating their own ecosystem right now. At least that's what I've been seeing in this space. If they don't want to pay taxes, okay, well, maybe you won't have to if you just keep all of your money in the ecosystem. But for some people, they may not like that because they kind of want to have all of their money in one place. But I really do think that, in the next few years or so, people are just going to abandon, people have been abandoning, US currency. They've been abandoning, euro. They've been abandoning, all of these currencies for Bitcoin and Ethereum and Ripple and Tether. I mean, they've been using all of these coins, for their needs, and they don't really need, dollars.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example. So the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Those to flee immediately. The only way they were able to survive is because they were using cryptocurrency. They didn't have to worry about a bank. They didn't have to worry about a central bank. That's what they were doing. Some of your insight, and one of the things a lot of people don't know if they don't follow the news. A couple of years ago, during the pandemic, Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther, he actually went into a bank to try to take a large amount of cash out, and the teller called the authorities on him. So this is one of the things where I tried to talk to people about the difference of why cryptocurrency and decentralized currency is needed versus centralized, because banking while Black is something very real. And I know in your research, in your past, you had some experience with working on that. So tell us a little bit about banking while Black.
Well, yeah, I mean, you see all of these instances. I mean, it feels like every month there's something like this that happens, and it just builds on the mistrust between the Black community and traditional financial institutions. You have people that are turned away from the bank. Their checks are taken from them by bank employees, and it's based on discrimination. It's based on racism, and these are things that are really pushing people away from traditional finance, and they're going towards alternative finance options. They're looking at, fintech companies. They're looking at neobanks, especially in the Black community. You have, Greenwood Bank, which is a neobank. It's Black owned. People are looking at Black banks, but a lot more people are now turning to cryptocurrency because cryptocurrency is it's totally online. You don't have to, nobody really knows what you look like. They don't know who you are. I mean, your wallet ID is the only thing that identifies you. So if you're making a payment, if you're applying for something, if you're, depositing money, if you're buying something, people aren't going to have that bias there because nobody knows what you look like. And that's very appealing. If you're, somebody that's consistently targeted, or you're a member of a group that's consistently targeted when trying to access financial products, that's definitely a reason for you to go to, where you're accepted and where you're wanted.
Absolutely.
I was doing research on, Tulsa and the Black Wall Street, and, how so many people lost all of their money because they didn't have any way of verifying their that they had their account, that they had their identity at these banks, these white-owned banks, these institutions, and they lost everything. And you have that generational trauma, that has happened, from then until now. But people are just now saying, look, we have these decentralized platforms, we have crypto, we don't really need the bank anymore. And as a result, you've been seeing a lot of banks competing now with your crypto companies. You've been seeing a lot of banks now trying to, lure people back into the bank by offering, banking custody, by offering crypto products. And, I think that, there's a lot that banks need to do, to build that trust again. But for some people, I mean, they may have just totally lost all of their trust with banks. So that's just a little bit on what I've been doing, what I've done research on when it comes to just trust and underbanked people and unbanked populations, and why they're turning to cryptocurrency, because they don't have to necessarily disclose their race. And you can't go into somewhere and they're looking at you and they see a Black woman or they see a Black man and they say, well, I don't want to sell you Bitcoin. everything is through the phone.
Absolutely. And we talked about the medical doctor that was doing her residency who went into a bank to cash her check, and she went through a very difficult time. They called the police on her as well. So it's unfortunate, and it's critical that our community learns more about cryptocurrency so we're not behind. So one of the acronyms that I like to use when I'm talking to people about cryptocurrency is POOR. And we are in a season where this is going to be the largest transformation of wealth that's going to take place because of what the regulations and things are doing behind the scene, with CBDCs, the payment rails. It's XRP. I always tell people, not financial advice. You can do your own research, but please go ahead and get yourself some XRP, because XRP and XLM, they are part of the providers and solution providers behind the scenes of these new CBDCs that are taking place all over the world globally. And going back to POOR, passing over opportunities repeatedly. And a lot of times people, they wait until someone tells them what has to be done when it becomes a requirement, instead of doing the research on their own and finding out, hey, what's happening in the world. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to have conversations with people about cryptocurrency and they seem bored. They don't want to hear it. They're not interested. And we wait until it's too late. Late. Like I said, XRP right now is about 47 cents. Don't come asking questions when it's $300 or $500, because by then, just like with, you have many people that are into Bitcoin, heavy Bitcoin advocates. They're telling people to invest in Bitcoin. Jay-Z is even opening up a Bitcoin academy of some sort. Bitcoin is too late. The people that made their money in Bitcoin, they bought Bitcoin in 2014. They're set. You make your money when you buy it in the dip, when you buy it when it's a bear market, right? Bitcoin right now is $20,000. The average person doesn't have, a couple of Bitcoins in their portfolio. It's $20,000 for one. If you buy, cryptocurrency that's under $1 right now, there's 10 tokens right now, and I'm going to put it in the comments. 10 tokens right now that you can get that are under $1. If you buy them today, and they have real utility, and we talked about that, how we test, for example, there's real utility behind each of these tokens. You're able to see where these tokens are and what it means for the future. So invest in them now. They're under $1. Under $1.
I think the biggest thing, and just to touch on what your POOR acronym is, just that financial literacy aspect. It's so important to do your own research. If you see something that, looks interesting that you want to purchase, or, you do your research. You see so many people that are getting fined by the SEC, like Kim Kardashian was recently fined and had to pay a few million for selling tokens that she didn't know anything about. And people are buying these things. You have celebrities that are shilling NFTs, and, you have to do the proper research before you purchase this thing. And going back to Kim Kardashian, what a lot of people don't understand, they hear bits and pieces of the story and they don't really understand why she was fined. The reason she was fined is because she was influencing people to buy the token, and she wasn't telling them that she was being paid to do it. All the commercials, whether it's Chick-fil-A, whether it's hair plug for men, if there's somebody that's on a camera, you'll see underneath the, in fine print, it'll say that this is paid advertising. These people were paid, for a paid spokesperson for the product. And that's why she was fined, because she didn't let people know, I'm telling you, to buy this particular token, but I'm being paid to do it. And that's why she was fined. Because cryptocurrency is a scam and it's wrong. Right. And I just want to piggyback off of that, because, one of the things that people have been skeptical about cryptocurrency on is the use of influencers when, you know, selling these tokens. And you have a lot of people that are on YouTube, you have a lot of people on Instagram, you have a lot of people on TikTok that might be getting a cut, or they may have been an early investor in this token and they're selling this token and they have a vested interest in it, or they're being paid by the developers to sell this product. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that, you know, without that disclosure of, hey, I'm getting, you know, this is a paid advertisement, or hey, I'm getting money for this, you know, it leads people to think, oh, well, you know, this person is buying NFTs, or I should do this because they're doing it. You know, it's kind of like that follow the leader, or this celebrity is buying this, or this celebrity is signing off on this token. They think it's okay, so I think it's okay too. And it's just that literacy, right? Like, you just need to know, like, okay, if I am interested in a token, you know, what are some things that I want to do? I want to know about the developers, who are the people that are creating this token. What is the white paper? I want to read the white paper. What is this token trying to do? What is this protocol trying to achieve?
What's the utility?
What's the utility?
Yeah.
What can I use this for? You know, like what are the, you know, what are they doing with disclosures? How transparent are they? I think, you know, one of the biggest things is looking at developers. Have these developers gotten in hot water before? I mean, like looking at Do Kwon with Terra Luna, you know, he had previous run-ins with, you know, law enforcement and regulatory authorities before he created Terra Luna. And I think that if a lot of people did their due diligence and said, okay, well, you know, this might be a little bit of a gamble, you know, just based on who, you know, the situations that this individual has run into, you know, people wouldn't have invested as much, and the fallout would not have been so big. So it's important to just do your research when it comes to investing, when it comes to buying anything, really. Do your research. But, you know, cryptocurrency is not a scam. You know, there are people that try to take advantage, like people take advantage of everything. But I think that just doing your proper research and asking the right people questions is definitely a way to kind of to crack that, you know, boredom, or to crack that, you know, gap, to bridge that gap for more knowledge for everyone. Absolutely.
So last question that I'm going to ask you, it is in reference to, and a lot of people don't know what this is. I mean, this is all new, right? We can't talk about cryptocurrency without talking about the environment. You have people that are like, oh, you know, cryptocurrency is destroying the environment. NFTs are destroying the environment. There is actually an organization, it's called Environmental, Social, and Governance. So this is basically a report card of sorts, where they're looking at cryptocurrency platforms and they have a checklist to see how they're faring in, you know, certain areas. Do you have any knowledge or background on that platform at all?
So yeah, ESG is something that has come to the forefront recently with millennial investors in particular. A lot of people want to know, you know, how is this company operating when it comes, you know, do I want to invest my money in a company that abuses their workers? Do I want to invest in a company that is not doing their due diligence to protect our environment? You know, even coming down to the materials that they're creating, you know, are their materials sustainable? Are they harming the environment in any way? So this is something that you've seen from consumers. You know, this is a consumer-driven effort, and you will hear about people that say, oh, well, ESG, it's you know, it's coming from politicians, or it's coming from, you know, the government. And no, it's actually coming from a generation. Younger generations care about these issues, and this is not going to go away anytime soon. People care about the environment. You know, people care about, you know, social justice. You know, George Floyd was a huge reckoning in 2020 for a lot of people that had been asleep to police brutality. And, you know, people want to know, you know, what is your commitment to racial justice? What is your commitment to racial equity? I mean, they want to know those things before they buy stock in your company, or before they even, you know, purchase something from your store or buy products from you. Governance is what are the ethics like for your company? Are you embezzling money? Are you price gouging? I mean, this is something that I did a little bit of work on before I left Capitol Hill, where you have these companies that, were taking advantage of inflation. They were taking advantage of the supply chain challenges, and they were just driving the prices of their products through the roof. And, things that were normally like $2 and $3 were all of a sudden $6. And these companies, the price to make those products did not change. So you have these companies making—
that happened during the pandemic as well with, masks and COVID
sanitizer. And so you've seen these companies taking advantage of consumers, and consumers are not having it anymore. So you've been seeing a lot of ESG conversations. I know the SEC, they had a rulemaking around, corporations and companies that issue securities disclose, what their ESG standards are. And, you've seen a lot of pushback on that. But, I don't think that that's something that's going to go away anytime soon. Because consumers are always going to ask, and I don't see them not wanting to know that information for the foreseeable future. But what that means for crypto, I would say is environment is a big thing. I think the narrative that crypto mining is so energy consuming, and it kind of is. I say that it's a little misleading because because crypto mining is an industry that is they are kind of correcting their industry towards becoming more sustainable. So if you look at like Amazon's data centers, these storage facilities, for cloud software and putting everything in the cloud, these servers, people, I mean, these are facilities that are always running on electricity 24/7, 365 days a year. And when they first came out, people were like, this is very, energy consuming. This is not really sustainable. But, Amazon and other cloud, server companies have been looking at ways to make it more sustainable. So using solar, using hydropower, using alternative forms of electricity. And you've been seeing something similar happen with crypto mining. People have been going out of their way to mine more sustainably because they're concerned with the environment. They know that this is a criticism that is not going to go away unless there is change. People who are purchasing crypto, people who use crypto have been pushing for this. They support this. And so the industry is reacting as well. So I think I would say it's a myth, that crypto mining is totally, the industry right now is going out of their way to harm the environment. No, they're actively working towards becoming more sustainable. And I foresee in the future, them totally working on a sustainable model, because I feel like that's also a way that they attract more investors.
So exactly. So between Bitcoin and Ethereum, those two were the most popular cryptocurrencies, and they were using mining, right?
Yes.
So, with the merge, I think it took place in September, Ethereum switched over from proof of work to proof of stake. Yep. So really the big dog that's out there, Bitcoin, is still using proof of work. I don't know how, the Natasha guy has disappeared. Who's going to make the changes for Bitcoin behind the scene? Because Bitcoin was developed in 2008 on proof of work. All of the tokens that were developed on the proof of work strategy where they're using mining, they're all going to be changing over. If they want to be sustainable, they've got to change over. XRP, XLM, they don't do staking, they don't do mining. They're under what's called the Federated Byzantine Agreement. That's a whole another show by itself to go over what that is. So I think, like you said, to make it more sustainable, going from proof of work to proof of stake, one of the only ones that's going to be left out there is going to be Bitcoin. And I don't know if any changes are going to be made for that. So
I don't think any will be, but I do think that miners, knowing that as time goes on, solving solutions to receive a Bitcoin is going to be more energy consuming. So you're going to see that shift with miners towards, using alternative forms of electricity to power their computers. So that's something that I see happening over time when it comes to sustainability in Bitcoin. But you are correct. The proof of stake protocol. I mean, people have really been, that is very energy conserving. But then another thing is, what does that mean when it comes to its classification as a commodity? Could that change? Does proof of stake, using proof of stake, does that mean that your cryptocurrency is a security? What exactly is your staking reward? Is that a dividend? So those are things that I think about when it comes to the regulatory front. If you're getting rewarded for holding a token on the blockchain, I don't know if the SEC is going to consider that different from me holding a GE stock and getting a dividend at every quarter.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point. And that's my first time hearing someone explain it that way. And this, like I said, this conversation is needed for our community. So one of the things I'm going to ask you before we end, what are some key things that you would want people from our community to understand about crypto? We already went over, many people in our community, they think that cryptocurrency is a scam. I've heard people say things like, oh, you have to be wealthy to get involved in cryptocurrency. What are some of the takeaways that you want to, say to someone who's getting into cryptocurrency for the first time?
The biggest thing I would say is, and this is just me, this isn't financial advice, but I think the biggest thing is doing your research on particular tokens, and then also looking at the industry as a whole. Like you said, you mentioned earlier, there's a whole infrastructure. It's not just tokens. There's blockchain technology. There are companies that are investing heavily into blockchain technology. Look at what some of these other companies are doing. My brother is an avid investor. He likes the metaverse. He's not investing in the metaverse, but he's investing in companies that are producing metaverse equipment, headsets, virtual reality headsets. So look at what's in the periphery. It's not always about the token. I mean, the token is good, do your research. If it's something that makes sense to you and your budget, do it. It doesn't take money to invest into this space. You can invest with $20. It's not a heavy investment, and it's very easy to get involved in this space too. It's not, there's no major barrier. I would say that's my second takeaway. Don't think that, because you've heard about all of these bigwigs buying crypto and making, millions and billions off of Bitcoin and all of these other things, that you can't invest in the same places that they invest. You can buy Bitcoin on Cash App right now. You can buy fractional shares online. There's so many different platforms, cryptocurrency exchanges that you can purchase different tokens on. You can buy Ripple on Coinbase. You can buy, and even Coinbase, they'll give you tokens if you watch videos about the particular token. So you're getting that education, but you're also getting a reward, for watching. And it's just time. That's the only thing that you have to give. It's free. So that's my second takeaway. Don't think that this is not a space for you. And also, going off of that, don't think that because you don't see people that look like us in this space, don't think that means that we're not here. There are so many Black innovators in this space that are creating every day. And they were at the Black Blockchain Summit. They're at blockchain summits in Africa. There's blockchain summits in Nigeria where people go and they talk about the things that they're working on. Look at the software. Look at the technology. Look at that. there are so many of us that are there innovating, not just investing and buying and influencing. We're not influencing, we're actually creating some of these things for our community. We're here.
Absolutely.
So don't think that, this is just for white people, or this is a white boy thing, or this is a gamer thing. My mom thought it was just for people who played video games. It's not for people who just play video games.
Absolutely. And to your point, and that's one of the things I try to, the point I want to take away is that what we're doing with our project, we created our token, and our token is here to, not only are we airdropping and giving our token away, we're showing people, okay, this is what cryptocurrency is. This is how you set up a wallet. This is what a private and a public key is for. This is what you shouldn't do with your private key. This is what so just talking to them about the different types of wallets. In addition to that, we're also giving our token away to nonprofit organizations as well. And we're giving, nonprofits, training on what cryptocurrency is. I had one woman that I spoke to at an event, and she says, well, what would be the benefit of me accepting cryptocurrency for my nonprofit? I said, what would be the benefit of you receiving cash for your profit? So I was talking to her about the different things. And there are 3 areas for us that are near and dear to our heart. We talked about the wealth gap, the digital divide, and then recidivism. So we focus on nonprofits that are in those 3 areas. And those are the ones that we sit down and we talk to, and we say, okay, we're going to provide you with a set